Hello, welcome to Triggered Care. I'm Alex. I want to make a video about religion, and I've made two of them so far, and I don't know, something about it just doesn't feel right, so this is going to be hopefully my last attempt to record this. So I used to believe in God. I believed in God a lot when I was a kid. My mother was very religious, although we weren't a part of any cult, like I said last time. We did go to church, and we did get involved with the church quite a bit. I was baptized Lutheran, but we definitely did not stay in the Lutheran denomination throughout my childhood. Due to moving all the time, I've been to a number of different churches and denominations. Sunday was for Sunday school and stuff like that early on, where you learn about Jesus. And then vacation Bible school, along with church camp, along with youth group stuff. Youth group all throughout middle school and high school. And Christian conferences telling us how to live and what sort of plans God has for us. When I first started hallucinating and noticing it, I thought it was God. I thought God fit that description pretty easily because I first started hearing voices. Sometimes the voices were scary, and that would be the devil. And then when the voices were good, what I perceived as good, that's what was coming from God. For example, when my stepfather got crushed by the van, I thought it was God telling me that everything was going to be okay, not giving myself the credit or whatever hallucinatory part of my brain was going on at the moment, credit. Because I thought it was God telling me, I'll reassure you right now, it's going to be fine. You have to take care of your family. You need to take care of everything. So don't worry about it. I also prayed every day. We prayed for meal times. We prayed before bed. The before bed prayer was a private one, but I didn't skip out on that one. My mother always seemed to be worried that I wasn't connected to God enough. And that made me worry too. That made me worry quite a bit. And then once I reached middle school was around the time that my mother started accusing me of being possessed by the devil. And that was really rough. That was really, really rough, being accused of that, because I didn't quite know what I was doing wrong or what I was doing to make her believe that I was possessed by the devil. I slept a lot. I napped a lot. I really liked reading. And then she continued to hurl that accusation at me for a while. And I didn't really know how to reverse that that verdict that she found on me being possessed. After I got out, I did continue going to church for a while. I found a church that I really liked. I really liked the pastor, and I continued to go. And then I went to a religious course in college that kind of opened my mind a lot to different religions and the sort of validity and proof that they had behind them and how it compared to Christian belief and how Christians do things. And just as a disclaimer, religion can be helpful and it can make people behave better and it can make people feel better. And I don't necessarily want to discourage against that religion. However, I do believe it can be used as a tool to abuse and control people. Especially with this nifty little Bible verse that I heard a lot growing up. The meek shall inherit the earth. Pretty much just encouraging everyone to be meek and to not stand up for themselves, and promising that they'll be the ones who get the earth. And as a shy little girl, I liked this passage. I felt like, yeah, look at that. I don't talk at all. So, but one day I'm going to get all this stuff. I'm going to get the earth because I don't talk a lot. It doesn't really make any sense. I feel like church kind of encourages you to clamp up your opinions, especially opinions that disagree with the church, and to just kind of put on this false persona of everything's good and happy when God's involved, which, I don't know, it doesn't really encourage freedom of thought. One of the last churches that my family went to was a little bit more open-minded. I don't know if they're still going to that church. I have no idea. But the last one they went to was pretty open-minded and had a really good children's program. And they weren't quite as culty as some of our earlier churches were. And now I don't believe in God. And I guess this video is sort of about that transition. And how do I find comfort now if there is no God? How do I continue living, especially since I use God to get through a lot of my hard times? As a kid, I depended heavily on prayer and talking to God. And I got used to it. I got used to talking to God. I got used to yelling at the devil to shut up, and how my life has changed since that belief has gone. Well, another part of that belief dissipating was going to therapy, learning about psychology, and then applicating that to myself to realize that I hallucinate a lot, and that includes the voices in my head. So instead of putting that on God and the devil, I put that where it should be, on myself and on my brain. Not that it's my fault necessarily, but that is what I have. That is my mental disorder, is that I hear voices. As far as hope goes, you know, God is supposed to be hopeful. It's supposed to bring people hope and happiness. But it didn't. He didn't bring me that much hope and happiness growing up. I was always apologizing to him profusely. I was apologizing to God for being a horrible daughter. I was apologizing to him for not being good enough. I was apologizing to him for little things that could be construed as sin in my house, which was anything from a look to a tone to not talking to talking too much. I think he was used in my house to keep us children even more quiet. My mother often would ask, specifically me, but sometimes the other girls too, where their belief in God stood. And if she was not convinced of your answer, she would get upset and be convinced that you're going to go to hell. And in my house, it was very much used to control people even more than a regular old abuser would control people. And it triggers me. Religion triggers me now a little bit. Whenever I hear somebody going on about God and all of that, it kind of triggers me to that old mindset that I used to be stuck in. And due to all the religions having interesting doctrine and having really good parts of them, really good chunks of them that makes sense and is a very nice thing to believe in, I can't really dedicate my belief to any of them. And I'm not saying that there is no God. I'm just saying I I can't believe in him, and I can't believe in any of the gods that pop up. I believe more in people at this point, and the goodness of people, and that power to overcome the sadness and despair that other people try to spread. And since I switched believing from God to people, I have to say I am happier because it doesn't feel like I'm being punished all the time now. I'm not being punished by a God. I am in recovery for tremendous trauma. And it gives me more hope. And it makes me feel more grounded in the real world. And to anyone who uses religion to help, I am not judging you. I wish you the best. I'm happy that your brain is compatible with that. My brain is not compatible with it anymore because it's so tied to my childhood and to my past and to my own self-blame and my own persecution of myself and self-harming myself because I was not good enough in my mother's eyes and I was not good enough in God's eyes. So hopefully this is the last religions one that I record. I keep recording it because I keep saying stuff that not that it's offensive. I feel like I drone on too much about silly details. I guess I can say this. I went to 2 youth groups for a while through middle school and high school because my family switched churches. The first youth group was it was much more traditional than a lot of churches are these days. I will say that much. And then the second youth group was a little bit more lax, new age teaching type stuff versus the traditional teachings that would tell us not to masturbate and would demonize us making friends with anybody who wasn't Christian and that sort of thing. Yeah, there's definitely a big difference in churches and denominations sometimes. But that was sort of my church experience and my belief experience. And now I am agnostic, and I don't see that changing. I don't ever see myself being a hardcore atheist because God is definitely possible. And until you can disprove the God thing, or that there's gods out there, any deity out there, I mean, it would be silly to make the assumption that that isn't a possibility. So that's my feelings and a little bit of my history with church and religion. If you got stories about your beliefs or whatever, or if you just want to talk about it, comments are down below. There's also an email down there along with the Discord and the resources and all of that good stuff. So I hope everybody had a good weekend and have a good one.